You've heard of Star Trek and The Twilight Zone, but what about the sci-fi shows that completely flopped? In this video, we're looking at 8 forgotten 1980s sci-fi TV shows that flopped.
What's going on here?
This here is my slave. I own her.
Most people don't even remember they existed, but wait until you see what made them fail. Number 7 is so crazy, you won't believe it ever aired.
Put me down!
Naughty boy.
Don't hurt me!
I may just want to break you in half.
Automan, 1983 to 1984. The most expensive sci-fi flop of 1983, and it had a glowing superhero made of CGI. Glenn A. Larson looked at the success of Tron and thought, I can do that on television. He was spectacularly wrong.
What is it?
I don't know.
It's just another trick. It ain't real.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Automan was supposed to be the future of sci-fi TV, a show about a computer programmer who creates a holographic superhero that materializes in the real world to fight crime. Instead, it became a cautionary tale about what happens when ambition meets reality on a television budget.
Automan, what are you doing here? Do you realize anyone can just walk in and find you?
I needed to tap into Walter's terminal. I won't be a minute.
The premise seemed foolproof. Walter Nebisher, a nerdy police programmer, creates Automan, a glowing computer-generated crime fighter who can materialize sports cars, helicopters, and weapons out of thin air. The show's special effects budget was astronomical for 1983 television, eating up nearly half of each episode's production cost. Every time Automan's Lamborghini took a sharp turn, the CGI effects alone cost more than most shows spent on an entire episode. But the technology wasn't ready. The computer graphics that looked cutting edge in Tron's darkened movie theater looked cheap and unconvincing under television's harsh lighting. Worse, the show's writers seemed to think that flashy effects could substitute for actual storytelling. Episodes featured repetitive plots where Automan would materialize, solve crimes through impossible computer magic, then disappear until next week. ABC executives watched their expensive gamble collapse in real time. The show premiered to massive hype, but died a slow death as audiences realized there was nothing beneath the glowing surface. After 12 episodes, ABC pulled the plug, but Automan's pioneering use of computer graphics paved the way for later CGI television successes.
Hey, what are you dressed for? Halloween?
Manimal, 1983. The show so bizarre, even Saturday Night Live mocked it before it was canceled. NBC executives looked at the success of The Incredible Hulk and thought, what if instead of turning into a green monster, he turned into animals? The result was Manimal, a show so ridiculous that it became legendary for all the wrong reasons. Dr. Jonathan Chase, a wealthy professor, could transform into any animal to solve crimes. In practice, this meant watching a grown man turn into a hawk or a panther, while dramatic music played and the budget died a little more each week. The transformation sequences were Manimal's biggest selling point and its fatal flaw. Each animal change cost thousands of dollars in prosthetics and special effects. Money the show simply didn't have. By episode 3, the producers realized they could only afford 2 transformations per episode, and those had to be the same animals every time. Audiences got very familiar with Dr. Chase becoming a hawk and a black panther, because that's literally all the show could afford to produce. What made Manimal truly special was how seriously it took itself. Glenn A. Larson wrote episodes where Chase would dramatically announce his animal transformations like he was revealing state secrets. I must become the hawk, became an unintentional punchline. The show's attempts at gritty crime drama were constantly undermined by scenes of a man in an obvious panther costume prowling around Los Angeles parking lots. NBC knew they had a problem when Saturday Night Live started parodying the show before it even finished its first season. After just 8 episodes, NBC quietly canceled Manimal, but its legacy was secured as beloved camp entertainment that was so earnestly terrible it became a cult classic.
Look, the girl's dangerous. I'm telling you guys, you talk to her for more than 5 minutes, and she'll have you wanting to save the world too.
Misfits of Science, 1985 to 1986. NBC tried to create the X-Men before anyone even knew who the X-Men were. NBC executives watched Manimal crash and burn, but instead of learning their lesson, they doubled down on the ridiculous. Enter Misfits of Science, a show that tried to be X-Men 5 years before anyone knew what X-Men was. The premise? A group of scientifically enhanced misfits team up to fight crime. One guy could shrink to tiny size, another could shoot electricity from his hands. A woman could freeze things. And their leader was a telekinetic scientist who looked like he shopped exclusively at Miami Vice wardrobe sales. James D. Perriott pitched this as serious superhero drama, but NBC executives kept demanding more comedy, more romance, and definitely more shirtless scenes from the male leads. The result was a show that couldn't decide if it wanted to be a Saturday morning cartoon or primetime soap opera. Episodes veered wildly between campy humor and attempts at genuine emotion, usually within the same scene. The special effects budget was even more constrained than Manimal's animal transformations. When Johnny B showed off his electrical powers, audiences got treated to some of the cheapest lightning effects ever put on television. The shrinking sequences looked like they were animated by the same team that did Saturday morning cereal commercials. And the freeze effects? They literally just painted things white and called it a day. But here's what made Misfits of Science truly ahead of its time. Buried beneath the terrible effects and confused tone was a genuinely progressive approach to superhero stories. The team included strong female characters, addressed social issues, and explored what it meant to be different in a world that feared you. These themes would become standard in later superhero shows, but in 1985, they were revolutionary. NBC canceled it after one season, but the show's DNA would resurface years later in everything from Heroes to The Flash. Sometimes the best ideas just arrive at the worst possible time, with the worst possible execution.
We don't know what you're talking about. We're lost. We need help.
I said get in!
Oh, you pig! God, he's going for his gun!
Otherworld, 1985. A family lost in a world of alternate dimensions, and audiences completely lost trying to follow it. After watching 3 sci-fi shows implode spectacularly, CBS executives thought they had cracked the code. Instead of cheap transformations or bargain basement superpowers, they'd create an ambitious family adventure about parallel dimensions. Otherworld followed the Sterling family, wholesome Americans who fall through a mysterious portal into an alternate Earth where history went completely wrong. Sounds expensive? It was. Sounds confusing? Absolutely. Each episode dropped the Sterlings into a different province of this bizarre world. One week, they'd encounter a society where emotions were illegal. The next, they'd stumble into a zone where everyone lived like it was still the 1950s. The show's creators built elaborate sets and costumes for each new civilization, burning through CBS's budget faster than the family burned through dimensional barriers. The problem wasn't just money, it was comprehension. Audiences tuned in expecting simple family entertainment, and instead got complex political allegories about totalitarianism, conformity, and social control. The show demanded viewers remember ongoing mythology while constantly introducing new worlds with completely different rules. It was like asking families to casually digest graduate-level sociology lessons during prime time. Critics praised Otherworld's ambition, but admitted the execution was exhausting. After 8 episodes, CBS quietly pulled the plug, but the show's influence lived on. When Quinn Mallory started sliding between dimensions in Sliders a decade later, he was essentially picking up where the Sterling family left off.
What the hell happened? You'll be all right. You have a good, strong mind.
The Phoenix, 1982. ABC executives looked at Raiders of the Lost Ark's box office success and decided ancient mysteries were television gold. The Phoenix told the story of Bennu, an ancient astronaut who awakens in modern times searching for his people. With a premise borrowed directly from Erich von Daniken's best-selling Ancient Astronaut Theories, the show seemed destined for success. Instead, it became a masterclass in how to waste a brilliant concept. Bennu possessed incredible powers: telepathy, healing, matter manipulation. But the show's budget meant audiences rarely saw them. Most episodes featured the alien wandering around contemporary America looking confused while government agents pursued him. The promised ancient mysteries devolved into generic chase scenes through shopping malls and parking lots. What killed the Phoenix wasn't just budget constraints, it was tonal confusion. The show couldn't decide if Bennu was a messianic figure bringing enlightenment to humanity or a lost tourist looking for directions home. Episodes alternated between cosmic philosophy and mundane procedural plots, leaving audiences completely baffled about what they were supposed to be watching. The series lasted just 5 episodes before ABC canceled it, but the Phoenix's failure was particularly painful because the core concept was genuinely compelling. Ancient astronaut theories were about to explode into mainstream consciousness, and a well-executed show could have owned that cultural moment. Instead, poor execution turned television gold into primetime lead, proving that even the most promising concepts mean nothing without proper development.
You are right, Batiatus. He is the best gladiator in Capua.
Go!
Voyagers, 1982 to 1983. NBC executives thought they'd found the perfect formula. Combine time travel with education, and parents would love it while kids learned history painlessly. Voyagers followed Phineas Bogg, a time traveler who teams up with a modern boy to fix historical mistakes using a handheld device called an Omni. When history went wrong, the Omni's light turned red. When they fixed it, it glowed green. Simple, right? What could go wrong? Everything, as it turned out. The show's educational mandate sucked all the excitement out of time travel. Instead of exploring the infinite possibilities of history, Voyagers became a weekly homework assignment disguised as entertainment. Episodes featured painfully obvious historical lessons where our heroes would meet famous figures and deliver exposition about their importance. Gee, Mr. Edison, that light bulb sure is revolutionary! The production was cursed from the start. John Eric Hexum, who played Bogg, was charismatic and beloved by fans, but tragedy struck during the show's 2nd season. While filming on set, Hexum accidentally killed himself with a prop gun he thought was loaded with blanks. His death devastated the cast and crew, and NBC quietly canceled the show shortly after. But Voyagers had deeper problems than its tragic circumstances. The time travel logic was nonsensical, the historical scenarios were dumbed down to elementary school levels, and the educational entertainment mandate made episodes feel like televised textbooks. Critics savaged it as condescending to both children and adults. Despite its failures, Voyagers influenced later time travel shows like Quantum Leap, which proved that educational time travel could work with better writing and more sophisticated storytelling. Probe, 1988. When Isaac Asimov tried TV and network executives ruined everything. Isaac Asimov was one of science fiction's greatest minds, so when ABC announced they were adapting his work for television, expectations soared. Probe was supposed to showcase scientific detective work at its finest, a brilliant scientist solving impossible crimes through pure logic and advanced technology. Instead, it became a cautionary tale about what happens when network executives try to improve a genius's vision. Parker Stevenson played Austin James, an eccentric scientist who approached crimes like scientific puzzles. The show's cases involved cutting-edge technology, complex scientific principles, and mysteries that required genuine intellectual detective work to solve. On paper, it was brilliant. In execution, ABC's interference turned Asimov's cerebral concepts into generic crime procedural nonsense. Network executives demanded more action, more romance, and less complicated science talk. They forced writers to dumb down Asimov's sophisticated plots and add unnecessary chase scenes and romantic subplots. The result was a show that satisfied neither science fiction fans nor mainstream crime drama audiences. Episodes that should have showcased scientific brilliance instead featured clunky exposition and oversimplified solutions. Asimov himself was reportedly frustrated with how ABC handled his creation. The network scheduled Probe against major hits, gave it minimal promotion, and constantly threatened cancellation if ratings didn't improve. After just 7 episodes, ABC pulled the plug, ending what could have been television's first truly intelligent science-based detective series. Probe's failure was particularly tragic because its core concept was decades ahead of its time. Shows like CSI would later prove that audiences were hungry for science-based crime solving, but in 1988, networks weren't ready for Asimov's intellectual approach. Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future, 1987 to 1988. Shoot your TV with a toy gun and watch serious sci-fi self-destruct. J. Michael Straczynski had a vision. Create serious post-apocalyptic science fiction that happened to include interactive toys. What he got was a schizophrenic mess that couldn't decide if it wanted to be a Saturday morning cartoon or primetime drama. Captain Power featured a world where machines had conquered humanity, and a small band of rebels fought back using power suits that could interact with plastic toys sold in stores. Kids could literally shoot at their TV screens during battle scenes and help the heroes fight. The toy gimmick was both the show's marketing hook and its creative death sentence. Mattel demanded that every episode feature extended battle sequences to showcase their interactive weapons. Meanwhile, Straczynski wanted to explore themes of survival, loss, and what it meant to be human in a machine-dominated world. The result was jarring tonal whiplash, where characters would deliver speeches about genocide 1 minute and engage in laser tag with children's toys the next. What made Captain Power truly bizarre was how violent it became. This was supposedly a kids' show, but episodes featured graphic depictions of humans being digitized by machines, essentially vaporized alive. Parents complained that the show was traumatizing their children, while older viewers dismissed it as a toy commercial. The interactive element meant that during battle scenes, the show literally stopped being a narrative and became a video game. The show lasted 1 season before both Mattel and the network pulled out, but its influence lived on in everything from interactive gaming to serious science fiction television. These 8 shows proved that great concepts mean nothing without great execution. Their spectacular failures paved the way for better sci-fi television. Subscribe for more forgotten TV disasters that changed everything.